Into the Vertical Blank, Overscan, Retro News, and Atari 8-bit Sierra action game tier list coming up next.
Into the vertical blank, generation Atari.
Welcome to the boardroom.
Welcome to the boardroom, Steve.
Yep, I think it's stuck. I think the name is stuck.
Okay, and this is the weekly Overscan for 6. I don't know, 4, 6, 4, right?
Well, it's 6. Well, it's 6/6 right now, which means that.
Oh, for next week. Okay, it's 6/6, but this gets done next week. So I don't know what, like June 10th or something like that.
I mean, probably 7 days from yesterday, which was the 5th. So that would be the 12th.
Okay, the 12th.
Something
June
like that.
12th. But I meant the week of the 10th.
Sure, yeah, the week of the 10th.
Okay. Okay, welcome to the boardroom. News. Mostly Atari.
Yes, mostly Atari. All right.
All right. So, Steve, you picked up this news. What do you want to talk about it first?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I got this. This is directly from it. This is a screen grab from the Genxgrownup video, YouTube video. So
the hardest working
Atari. Yeah, he loves Atari.
Along with Brian, BCB, but they're both like the hardest working Atari video YouTubers, basically.
Yeah. No. John loves Atari. Though I asked him, he's just grew up with Atari stuff. It's not just a fake thing. He really grew up with Atari, so it's cool.
He's an Atari
guy, which is cool. I love it. Anyway, this is a screen grab where he found the dates for the Atari 7800 products and where they'll be shipping. So these are the new ones, the re-release, the Ninja Golf, Food Fight, and Fatal Run, plus the controller, the gamepad controller.
Yes.
These are the new dates. So it looks like Australia.
Can't wait.
Because I think PlayOn is in Australia, right? So, it looks like they're all coming out in June. This is just a month later than they said, but this is good news.
It's great news.
I can't wait. Especially, but I kept going and looking. The only one problem is like Atari didn't. I think I bought these, but I can't find the receipts in my email. So. And when you go to try to log in to see your order, it asks for your order ID and your email address. But when I put those in, it doesn't do anything. It says it doesn't exist. So I'm like, fantastic. So I have no idea.
This could be another Mr. Run and Jump special edition.
I feel like buying these directly from Amazon in the future is just what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's probably a better idea. Ooh.
Okay, so this is another one. So I noticed this, Atari had put this Atarisoft ad up on their Atari Facebook group. It might have even been on Twitter too, but this is the social media guy on May 22nd put this up. And, Atarisoft is very interesting. I think we know people who are fans of Atarisoft in particular, but Atarisoft is the company that Atari created at the either end of 1983 or beginning of 1984, or they announced themselves to make games for other platforms besides Atari platforms, and they were responsible for dozens of games. And a lot of people collect these because they think they're cool. But the fact that Atari had this Atarisoft ad, I think was, I was hoping that maybe it meant they would approach their licenses now, either the games they license from other people or the licenses they made for other platforms. And, when you put out a version of Centipede, you could actually put out the one for every platform. It's not just the 2600 version, right?
You know what's right here? Right up here is a link to the Colecovision versus Atari 8-bit 5200 and 2600 video I did for the Colecovision Atarisoft.
Awesome.
I know that's not in this ad.
But it will be.
But,
but it's cool. So I was hoping that, it's neat that Atari is delving into these old things, even if this is, someone, this could be Albert from Atari Age for all we know, doing some of this because he's the historian. But whatever, it's neat that they're connecting to some of these old things that we've been talking about for a long time, but haven't seen much of. So
yes.
That's it. That's all this.
Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, this is really cool. Okay, next news item.
Audacity is back. Jeff, there is a new
Audacity is back.
there is a new game from Audacity programmed by John Van Rissen. I think that's how you pronounce his name, the creator of Hero, called Alien Abduction. So it's going on sale on Audacity's website on June 15th. Another game for the Atari 2600. Very excited because Audacity's games are amazing. Well, their one game is amazing.
Well, I can't wait because Hero is basically one of my favorite Atari 2600 and Atari 8-bit games.
I know it's going to be awesome. So this is cool. This is we've been waiting for the I think Casey's Gold for a long time, but this is the second game that's going to come out after Circus Convoy. But we Audacity, I love Audacity because they're kind of this out. They're total pro games, and they're outside of Atari, and they kind of do their own thing. It's very interesting. So this should be really cool, and it looks really good.
Did they have any? They no pricing on
No
this yet, right?
pricing.
There's
My
no.
guess is it's got the same tiers as last time, where there's like a $60 regular version and a collector's version as well.
Got it. Got
I
it.
think it's
Okay.
going to
Well,
sell way
cool. I
better
hope
this time. I think the whole market for this type of thing has increased in
well.
the past couple years.
About a year ago, Mock Duck Plays Games on YouTube previewed the VCS version and wished that there'd be a cartridge version. Let's hope it works on the 2600 plus. Probably should
Oh
work
yeah,
on.
it should work on the 2600 plus. Hopefully it does. So, and maybe with that new firmware update. Oh, so
Fixing Activision cartridge labels from the
yeah,
Silicon
so
Underground
this is just
dude.
a quick note that that Dave over at Silicon Underground had a story this week about some multi-step process for fixing your Atari 2600 labels for Activision cartridges, and that's it. I just want to point that out as kind of some cool little update he did this week. So that's it.
And yeah, Dave's site is awesome. AtariAge.com. Okay, new experimental Atari 2600 Plus update. You can
Wow.
finally play Pitfall 2. So there's the forum post about the update, the 2600 Plus patch, is the same forum post that's been there. I'm going to put a link here, links up here. It's all in here. You can play different new games are being fixed. All the details are in this thread, but anyone who has the capacity to do the update themselves and wants to do it and check it out, you get almost 99.999% of games working properly
Oh,
now.
that's fantastic. No, I find myself now. I used to a few what was it see almost 5 or 6 years ago. I took all my Atari 2600 loose carts and I put them in a box, and I was never gonna look at them again. I decided I only wanted if I was gonna have any 2600 games, they're gonna be CIB only, just for the get the full effect. In somewhere in that process, I lost a whole bunch of them too. I don't know where they are,
Oh no,
but since the 2600 Plus came out and I've been testing games on it, I find myself down at all the local retro stores finding the non-common stuff all
that's
the time.
awesome.
Just yesterday, I got a copy of Time Pilot for the 2600, which is
That's
pretty
a
good.
great game. I
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
good.
It's like I would say Time Pilot is a little like single player combat jets on steroids.
Yeah. So like
Um
so anyway, I'm saying like the fact that they're getting the 2600 Plus the ability to play some of these other games is great
Well,
because it
I wanted to mention that Atari and Revenge are helping now with all of this. That is getting this to work. That the guy, so that the people that are behind the best way to make games, easily on the 2600 and the 1700 are behind it. So a lot of the homebrews are going to be working.
that's fantastic. That's great news. That's awesome news.
Next up, Coleco Tarzan for the Atari 2600 ROM was found, and Kevin Bunch has a great article about this, and the link is here on GameHistory.org. And Errata Non Grata had a great YouTube video about
Yeah,
it.
I
So
just watched that like 10 minutes ago.
I will insert a little bit of video here in the links for those also. It looks like a neat game too, by the way.
No, so
It's
I,
not.
I I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is so it's really well done. I can't I it would have probably been one of the best Atari 2600 games
It,
if it came
yeah,
out. It looks like a combination of Mr. Postman and Bobby's Going Home for how elaborate it is.
For how elaborate it is, right?
Yeah, it's very elaborate. It's really cool. I think again I would have been disappointed back in the day because I was disappointed about all Atari 2600 games at a certain point, like 1983 or 1984. But looking back now with my eyes, I'm like, wow, this would have been amazing if it came
So
out at the
I'm
time.
going to say something a little controversial here because it goes against what most people think. But some of these games are showing that if the 2600, maybe if the same developers had started moved to the 7800 and to the ColecoVision, you would have had Americans making games as elaborate and as good as NES games, but they were stopped.
Sure. No, I 100% agree with you that there would have been, you easily would have had,
Right.
a fine amount of competition,
Right.
competitive games, but they were all kind of, yeah, I mean, there was like a 2 year gap, and then a lot of when the companies wanted to start making games for the NES, Nintendo was like, why do you want to make your own games? You can license these thousands of games that are already in Japan and translate them. So it was even hard when people wanted to start making games even to get started because there was such a
Right.
flood of other games. I think it probably set back American video game development probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years to the point where people had to start catching up again. But if the companies had just continued building on top of what they knew, same people, learning the skills, building on top of the last guy, using the code bases that already existed, using the knowledge, yes, there would have been amazing games that would just continue being built.
And I don't
So,
want to disregard here the fact that most of the best game developers, if they continued doing it, moved to the Commodore 64, kept doing Apple and some IBM games. So that's where the C64 got a lot of good games. But the problem was they were on a computer platform. They weren't on
well, and some went to the Amiga too, and the ST
and
as well,
of
right?
course, of
But the
course. But I
idea is
mean,
they
yeah,
did
yeah.
just like the industry was like, oh, kids are going to move to computers. It's like it wasn't just kids that moved to computers; like the developers moved there too.
Yeah, and this
Um,
was the install base wasn't there. Plus
Yeah, but
piracy.
the problem, well, the install base was there for the Commodore 64, but that's because of Christmas 1983, and I think some of Christmas 1984. There was a lot, right? The install base was big. The install base for the Commodore was big enough so that piracy did not affect it the way it did with Atari 800.
Yeah, but it still was not as big as any.
Sure, it
Unfortunately,
wasn't as
not
big at
selling
all.
as
It's
many
just
carts as NES.
that's
I
kind of
understand what
where
you're saying.
that's kind of
Enough
where
to
people went.
support lots of mall stores full of C64 software.
Sure, yeah, for a while
Okay,
anyway.
for a while anyway. So that was I just meant that's where the brain drain went.
Yeah, the brain drain went there, or people just quit and they went to do something else.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so next up, Book Club: Cyberpunk, Outlaws and Hackers on the Computer Frontier by Katie Hafner with John Markoff. I think it says and, but he really did some of it. John Markoff did create other books after this, Steve. This is where he sort of pinned Kevin Bitnick as this
Right.
evil hacker in his writings when he really wasn't. That's what's wrong with
That
John
was
Markoff.
so Markov did kind of go. I remember there was one about someone chasing Mitnick around
Yes,
in a jeep or
yes.
something, and it just read
John
ridiculous.
Markov's
But
great reporter, but he needed a way to get '90s people to read the newspaper,
okay,
and
so let's talk about this book because we didn't say anything about it yet.
this is a great book. This is the first three stories we ever read about computer hackers, not the hackers we had learned about in Hackers, but like crackers and stealers and worm makers and breaking into systems guys, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this is really good. This is probably, again, this is before there weren't books being written about video games at the time. There weren't even
No.
books being written about computer history. This is really one of the first books that sort of had any sort of, I'd say, I don't know how to describe it, but like eh, fandom is not the right word because you're not really a fandom of the
No, you're
hackers,
not a fan of these people.
but it was more like, this is what what people were doing with computers, even if at the time it was criminal
Right.
or somewhat. It was interesting to see what people were doing because at the time we were computer enthusiasts. Like that's coming out of the
Right.
80s.
Right.
You didn't know where things we did. The
Enthusiast.
internet did not exist. I hate saying the internet exists, but the internet existed, but the web didn't exist, and
Right.
nobody knew where things were going. And so trying to find anything that where people were excited about the prospect of what computers could be, even if it was somewhat exploring the internet as a quote unquote hacker seemed like a fun and interesting thing. And it wasn't necessarily games, but it was that sort of era of exploration that was fascinating and interesting, just like Stephen Levy had written about in his book. But this was more pointed, like this is what people do to do nefarious stuff. I didn't want to do nefarious stuff, but I was interested in what people
Right.
did do.
Like just the topic of it. So Pango is the same story from the Cuckoo's Egg from the other
Right.
side. So
The RTM story is really interesting with Robert Tappan Morris and his worm. And I would say, and the interesting thing about
yeah,
Kevin Mitnick and his crew, that when we read that, they were operating out of Los Angeles at the time,
yeah,
and
and a
and there
friend
was
of ours was the girlfriend of one of the people in the story,
right.
a
And
family friend.
one thing I remember, and I remember that that we had sold some Atari stuff, and when I read the descriptions of these people, they really sounded like the same guys that came over to our house to buy some of our Atari stuff.
Yes.
It might not have been, but it was like it was interesting to read the description and go, wait
It
a minute, that sounds incredibly familiar.
to us it sounded like the same people.
Yeah, it
Okay,
might not
anyway,
be. And
great book.
our
Great
small
book.
world anyway at the time, we had no idea.
And both John Markoff and Katie Hafner have written other books, and their libraries are pretty big. Oh, you have one in here
I
coming
do
up,
have
right?
one. The next one, yes. So this is a great book, Where Wizards Stay Up Late: The Origins of the Internet by Katie Hafner and
Right.
Matthew Leon. This is about the creation of ARPANET and focuses on JCR Licklider. I would read this book second after reading Hackers. I would read this because this is the Stephen Levy book, and then read this one. There's a lot of really interesting stuff about how ARPANET was created. Really well written, really interesting story, and not really that popular of a book. I know it came. I think I read this about 10 years ago. I think.
I
Um,
think I've been I started listening to these on Audible. So Hackers is on Audible. I think this one is too, and I have like 4 credits. So I'm gonna get this one too if I can because these books are really good. It's like listening to an incredible podcast. Obviously, I
it
know that
it is. It
because
is.
because it has all the information you want to hear. It's really
Yeah, I
good.
mean, I would say you're right about that. All of these books that we've looked at so far, all would have probably not been written as books if podcasts existed at the time.
Right.
They probably would have been written as audio stories
Or YouTube
or
got things
YouTube
or something.
documentaries. They're written like that. That may be why I like them. I think you just made a really good point. Because they're sort of in that style.
Right.
So
Really good stuff though. Okay. PC DOS game CD-ROM
I
of the week. This
I
is
threw
new.
this in. Yeah, I threw this
This
in.
is
I
perfect,
thought maybe
Steve.
we could do some little bit new.
Why not?
And
Anytime. Anytime. Anything you want
okay,
to do.
except when you see the game I chose
No,
this
I don't
week.
care. Let's see the
Okay.
game.
Okay, the game I chose this week,
Phantasmagoria.
Phantasmagoria from Sierra, which is well regarded as one of the worst games ever made. It is a full motion video game, and I played it a few weeks ago. I remembered I bought like almost the entire Sierra collection like 10 years ago on Steam. And I'm like, wait, I think I want to try one of these, right? I didn't really know what it was. So this is Sierra's first, or one of their first, but I think it's the first one they released, their first FMV game. And it's an FMV adventure game where it comes up and shows this postage stamp video of, and by the way, it
Right.
came on like a CD-ROM, so it's not like they didn't have space, but postage stamp video of what's going on, and then you've got this environment that's somewhat photorealistic, but like the uh, the the standards weren't as exacting at the time. So lots of times you'll see like stuff is not really cut out correctly, and they did the best they could. Okay, especially I think probably because our modern monitors aren't anti-aliasing the graphics the way they appeared on a CRT back then, but our CRT monitor. But here's the thing: this game is awful, but also fantastic because you can see that you can. At the time, I would have never played it because at the time CD-ROM drives were, I think, as you weren't too slow. It would have been a pain in the butt to get going. It would have been really boring just to get going and trying to click around and stuff. But now all that has gone away. You can just sort of, you can load the game up really quick and start playing it, and it's really like a hidden object game. You just kind of wave your mouse around the screen until you find the one pixel that has the thing that you need. But like it is this, it's extremely strange adventure. I want to show you a little bit of video of it, because one of the really funny things about it is that there's a woman who plays the main character, and it takes place over several days. But of course, they have her wearing the same outfit the whole time,
Right.
which like totally takes, you're like, wait a minute, she wouldn't be wearing that orange thing the whole time. And then you're like, I guess she would, because they thought of her as a character in a game, but a full motion video game has like different sensibilities, right? Where you're actually talking about actors in wardrobe and stuff like that, which they didn't really consider. So I think that I'll show some video, but it's only $6 on Steam. It's not good, and you can get a walkthrough. You actually watch a video walkthrough on YouTube, but it is fascinating to be able to play it now without the technology barriers in the way, to see what they were trying to achieve. And it's kind of a fun little thing. It's supposed to be scary, but it's literally not scary at all.
It's not scary at all.
Unscary, they should call it, 'cause it's not scary at all. But anyway, this is my choice of DOS game of the week.
This is great. I love it. This is a good insert. I have so many DOS discs that I could bring out, or Windows discs, so we could do it. But one thing about this, I think I have or had a copy of this guide for sale in my eBay shop. And I think it's sold. I think I had it for $15 and kept moving it down. I think I finally sold it for $3.
Well, it's because you don't need it. Honestly, there's a YouTube video that just steps through the entire thing, right?
Right. I think some people, if there was a fan of this, maybe they wanted it as a keepsake.
That'd be cool.
Excitement of the week. Evercade Alpha. Looks fantastic.
Another one. So I saw a lot of YouTube videos that were complaining about this, but on the surface...
Hold on a second. I want this for Christmas.
I know, me too. Me too, because here's what I want. I want something that lets me stand alone play my Evercade games.
Yep.
My Evercade cartridges that I've invested in. In fact, after I saw this, I went and bought the 2 Commodore 64 collections that I don't have.
I have those.
So there's 3 of them now. And I have all 3. And I got them because there's a lot of Atari 800S games on those, so that's why I got it. But the Evercade Alpha is a standalone system with the screen. I mean, the best way I can describe it is like a bar top, but really kind of like the Vectrex, if you know what kind of like that size, except the screen is not vertical, it's horizontal. But it has a controller and about 9 buttons on it, and it can hold 2 cartridges, and it's got its own screen. And there's 2 different versions, both come with 6 different games. One is the Mega Man collection, and one is the Street Fighter collection. The Street Fighter one has a bunch of Street Fighter games, which I'm not interested in. But the Mega Man one actually has some games that I would probably be interested in playing. Like, I think Final Fight is on there, which is hilarious, which is a great little beat 'em up game. So I do want one of these, just like you. I saw people complaining about it online. I don't care. I like the idea of having a thing that I can stand alone somewhere in my house to play my Evercade cartridges.
Well, Mega Man is one of the greatest games ever made. But the one thing I think about Street Fighter as a problem here is that I always thought of Street Fighter as a 2-player game.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. It is 1 player. You can connect 2 other controllers by Bluetooth, I believe.
Got it.
Bluetooth or USB. There's USB ports. I'm going to say USB, but I thought someone said Bluetooth as well. So I know
it's not 100% 2-player. I know that a lot of single player. This is great, but I know that battling, it would be a fun thing in this. So anyway,
apparently there's also another version being released with upgraded controls. I can't.
It needs a spin. It needs some sort of a spinner or something on it. But
that's right.
The Atari
it's
games
updated joystick and buttons. It's not a spinner. But I agree with you. The Atari ones are going to be hard to play. It'd be great if it did, but you know what? It's not I don't see it as something to play arcade games really. It's just something to play console games.
I could do it on that anyway.
There's lots of ways to do that. I think this is one to say all those Evercade carts that are these really neat collections of like Lynx games and Amiga games.
Perfect.
And even the C64. Yeah, this is the thing that would be fun to play them on. I won't be so excited about it if some information comes out and says it's garbage, but I'm interested right now.
I think it sounds great. Yes, exactly. Okay, so
This is new.
Jeff's, let's open a package.
Jeff
Let's
is
get
going
my
to open a package.
I forgot what was in this package. I think I tried not to look at it too much, but this is a game that came from Atari Age a long time ago, and I will try to put a video of playing this in here from this package. This is, I know what it is because I just looked at it, but I mean I looked at it through the thing. This is the get the shrink bubble wrap off this thing. This is Atari 2600 incredible game Spacerocks.
Oh,
this is an incredible version of Asteroids for the Atari 2600. And it's a homebrew, and I'm hoping it works on the 2600 Plus when I download the new. So I'm going to try to play this on the 2600 Plus with the new firmware and see if it works.
So I don't want to go a separate video of that.
I am. I'm just going to show this is the a sighting opening of the week. Okay, so I'm not going to
awesome.
I'm not going to play it now, but I just want to show that arrived. I don't know how many months ago, but I never opened it. So opening of the week. Okay,
fantastic.
Next feedback.
This is another Silicon Underground feedback. So Silicon Underground, Dave over there we did a couple podcasts ago, we talked about should Atari own all of Classic Retro, and Dave didn't make a response post as much as he responded to the idea of it on his site. So Dave gets a second mention in this podcast. I really, again, it's not designed in any way. I like his stuff. So I'll try next week not to put him in, but. So Dave likens Atari to another 20th century hobby, which I'm not going to reveal, but I liked his take and his analysis, and it was nice to see some feedback, not really exactly towards us, but feedback in another way.
So the debate of the week is not really a debate. I wanted to get some Atari 8-bit content in this time.
Well, I'm sure we're going to argue about this a little bit. So
we will argue. Oh, there'll be a debate. But I want to do a tier list on Sierra Atari 8-bit action games. A lot of people don't even know about these because Sierra is mostly known for their adventure games. Right. But early on, for the 8-bit computers, they made a lot of action games.
Right, and so, we talked about him last week. But one of the people that made a bunch of these games is Peter Oliphant, who we talked about last week. So this is a little bit of a salute to some of his games as well.
So let's take a look at the first one. The game is called Aquatron. Aquatron is a little bit like a Defender.
Oh, wow. I never remember playing this. You go in and out of water. You dive in and out of water. Oh, that's what the Aquatron probably means.
Yeah. Although I'm not seeing anything to shoot yet. Oh, there it is.
There it is. You're trying to destroy all the bombers. That was just one bomber you needed to destroy in that.
Level 1, just one bomber. Right? Yeah.
This is a good-looking game. I like it.
It is, and it's fun, too.
It's a little bit like Defender, but it's kind of got its own thing as well going on.
Yes.
So I don't have a lot to judge this on yet, but when you go back to the tier list, remind me on this tier list, what is the top? Yeah. What is the top layer for? That's for like the best of the best.
Personally, I don't actually know what S is supposed to be. But I'm going to talk about S as what I think it is. So S is like the superior game, the super, like the best of the best. And so obviously Aquatron, to me, like I haven't played it that much, but playing it there, it is, for when it came out about the 81 or 82, a very well-made action game that nobody talks about. I think that it needs more. I'm going to do a video where I go through all of these games in detail I find reviews and things like that. So this is the tier list only, but just our first impressions of this one, I think this is at least a B.
I was going to give it a B as well.
It's not like incredible, but it's a lot better than most games. And so let's put Aquatron
a B.
A B. Talking about the
games next one. BC's Quest for Tires.
Okay, so BC's Quest for Tires.
No,
So
I've
I
played
did
this before. I know what BC's Quest for Tires is.
BC's Quest for Tires 1983, and this is very early side-scrolling game with very its own style of jumping. Right, no one really knew how. This is all pre-Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
So it's got its own way of doing things. I like it, but it's hard. So, oops. Okay, a lot of cheap deaths, honestly. Okay, so you have to jump over these things. You don't have high jumping, and you control your jump in the air, which is pretty good.
Oh, you can control a jump there, which is cool. Kind of like Bobby's going.
And then you kind of have to duck. It's got obviously the physics are just very binary, right? You're like it's either or, really. You know, there's no real physics, so you're either ducking or you're not.
It actually, now looking at it, it reminds me of Moon Patrol a lot.
That's exactly what it is. It's basically Sierra's version of Moon Patrol.
Except you don't shoot. You never shoot, though, right?
Yeah, you don't shoot.
And
it's
so here's the thing. Let's go back to the tier. It's pioneering in a lot of ways, so I think that gives it some points. But it's also just annoying to play. So I feel like it's between a B and a C, maybe.
I'm going to say I think it's good, but I've never been a huge fan of it because of how there's not a lot to it. It's almost like a reverse Jungle Hunt, but because there's so little to do, really you're just jumping and ducking.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
it.
neat. Well, I haven't got to higher levels though, so I don't know if there's more stuff to it. But I think it doesn't. It's annoying, and if it wasn't pioneering, it would probably be a D. But I think it gets a C.
I'm going to put it as a C. It's a C. Okay. The next one is
Crossfire.
Crossfire. So let's play Crossfire 1983 Sydney development. So Crossfire is you basically have to. It's like a streets from above. Like you're supposed to be seeing and you go around and you shoot these guys along these blocks seen from above. There's not a huge amount to it, and I know there's a 1700 game that kind of uses that as base. I can't think of the name right now. When these four things come out, you need to pick them up. But that's really about it.
I remember it being a fun arcade game, but it was only a mild diversion for a little while. It's interesting.
Yeah, it definitely has its fun. It definitely has some fun to it.
Right. It's not bad.
No.
I would probably give this a C as well.
I'm going to agree with you that it's a good game. It's not bad. It's something that people should try to take a look at. And let's put Crossfire in as a C. Okay.
Okay, so now we've got two Froggers. One is John Harris's Frogger, and one's the other Frogger. This is John Harris's Frogger.
Let me see. I'm trying to figure out which is which. So there's an official version of John Harris, and then later on, I think they made this is on disc. They made a cart version, and it's different, which is so interesting. But let's check out the John Harris one first. This was from 1982.
Look at how colorful the sprites are.
Yeah. One of the only things I ever have a problem with in this Frogger at all is that your frog is only a single color. That's all. Other than that, it plays a beautiful version of Frog.
I think historically, there's historical significance for this game, and it's a really good version of Frogger. I has to go on the S line because of the significance of it. I believe.
I think it's an S tier game too. Okay, so here's a second version of Frogger, which is interesting. I don't know all of the history. I know that, John Harris left, and then there's a guy who started making a really good programmer who started making some other games for Sierra. So this is the Chuck Benton version. It's very similar, but it's not the same game. He may have started with the same code base. I'm not 100% sure, but let's see. Okay, so it's got a whole different title screen. Oh.
Probably a lot more options here, it looks like. I mean, it's fine, but there's something about this that I don't like as much as the other one, and I can't put my finger on it.
I'm pretty sure this one was never released. So
I don't know if that means anything.
So what I see about this one is the movement is a little bit more sluggish, and the colors are off from the arcade game. There's nothing wrong with it.
I would put it in the
fact,
B category. I don't know.
If it was the only version, it might be an A, but because we have the S tier version, it gets a B.
All right, what's this golf game?
Okay, so it doesn't fit into their adventure game, so I put their golf game in here. This is a game called Golf Challenge. Let me see if it's not coming up. So by Harold Schwab from 1982. It's sort of an overhead game, a little bit like the 2600 Golf. But I find that you can control it so much better. Like, you can actually hit the ball. Although, you'll see that you still have problems figuring out which is the hole and which isn't. Very rudimentary graphics here.
This is very it does look
but
like...
it turns out...
I mean, I like the little walking animation, which is cute but weird.
Yes. But you can... let's see. I don't know.
The thing about golf games like this is... kind of like Atari 2600 Bowling, the graphics don't matter as much of the time as long as you could play an actual game of golf with it, or get the clubs right and the hitting right, and
there. See, so you kind of can just move your. The cool thing is you can just kind of rotate the club and hit the ball the way you want to go. So it's not.
Are there any other clubs,
easy.
or just that one club you have?
That's all I know. This is all I know about. Far, I didn't find any information about it. It's an interesting diversion. It's kind of fun, but 100%. It's in the.
I think it's in the D category myself.
I think it's a D. It's not the worst game ever made. It's kind of an It's like 2600 Golf, but with a slightly better graphic.
Yeah. Do we have to put something in E? Like, do we have to do that? Because
no, you don't put anything anywhere. If they're all A, they're all A to me. Okay, so Jawbreaker. This is an interesting. Jawbreaker's very interesting. Again.
This is John Harris as well, right?
And we kind of got to read the book, the hacker's book, to find out exactly where John Harris begins and ends at Sierra. Right. I know there was a falling out and he left or something, because there's Jawbreaker, and I know that Jawbreaker, the original, was actually Atari sent them a cease and desist.
This is the lawsuit game.
This is a lawsuit game, and it's a very good version of Pac-Man. We'll take a look at it. And then we'll compare it to Jawbreaker II. So luckily you can play it now. I don't know how long this was out. It has full packaging and everything. I don't know how long.
I mean, we had this on a pirate disc.
This is it. Okay.
Yeah. The music is fantastic in this game.
Yes.
I thought it was color, though. This looks like it's the...
you know what? I haven't found a color version.
I think there is a color version, but because I remember playing... Okay. There are colors here.
There's colors. There's players' colors, but it's high res, so you're not going to get colors because of these high res made.
So imagine this is on a disc. The Atari 800 right when we got it, the Christmas morning.
Yeah.
It's on a disc from Elwood, and this is the first version of Pac-Man. I remember seeing this in that catalog or in the store and wanting this badly. And this is the first version of Computer Pac-Man I have seen after the Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man that I'm actually playing. And I just love all the little details, like your teeth falling out and stuff like that. It's just amazing.
There's absolutely no flicker. So we're like we knew the Atari 8-bit was good, but we didn't know it was this good. This is pretty much if he had softened the maze just a little bit, like without the hard edges. This would have thought this was an arcade perfect Pac-Man. In fact, until they changed the graphics, this probably looks just like Pac-Man.
Well, I mean, it's the maze is different, but it is I'm not sure what happened in that court case with Atari, but that I would give that game an A for sure.
Yeah.
Are you going to put it an S?
I'm giving Jawbreaker an S. To me, it was one of the. I know that it didn't. It's hard. It did. Its release was like it was canceled or whatever. But to me, Jawbreaker shows early on, before people could really get the details about the Atari 8-bit, how to make an Atari 8-bit game.
Yeah.
Even though it's
we don't. We saw Jawbreaker 2. I mean,
Jawbreaker 2.
Jawbreaker 2 is like the Atari 2600 version of Jawbreaker, where there's
exactly.
It's only vertical lines. It's a fine game, but I'd put it there in a C. Yeah, I don't think it's.
It's like a C.
I think it's just it's a compromise.
It is very much a compromise. So, okay, so Lunar Leeper.
What is this?
So this is
this
Lunar
like
Leeper
Apple Panic or something?
Not
okay,
but it is. So we're getting into what we're almost not all everything, but we're getting into where games were ported from the Apple to the Atari 8-bit, and sometimes they took advantage of the Atari 8-bit, sometimes they didn't. Lunar Leeper is another sort of action game. It's a little bit like a game by Synapse called
Sneakers. No, that's serious.
No,
that's serious.
See, because you're actually a fight. No, this is more of a.
Well, Chuckles made a lot of games.
Or either he made them, or he made the title screens, or it's the guy who
pirated them.
I think he pirated, but I think it's not. I think it's the guy who actually finalized the production of them or helped coded them, because he came in after John Harris, and he was the new Atari superstar, I think. Choose call method, press start. F2. Okay, so this is a game where you could tell it's a little Apple-like. Got Apple sounds.
Oh yeah.
You're going over here. You're shooting guys. Wait, you're going over here, and you need to rescue guys.
It feels like this is that someone just ported the 6502 code for this.
Yeah, this is you're taking this guy, and you're bringing him back to the other side of the screen and put him over here. Basically, almost either this one or there's a I can't think of the name of this. There's a Synapse game that's just like this. I think it's Protector. So Protector is just like this, but this is pure Apple. Even Apple farty sounds. Although it's fun. It's fun.
This is like when we say crap Apple II ports. Like people say crap.
This is a
ST
crap
ports.
Apple II port to the Atari 8-bit. Right, exactly. So this is. I'll get you. I like it. Okay,
it's
so
fun though.
Looks wise,
but it's
so looks wise, it's a crap Apple II port to the Atari 8-bit.
Yeah.
Fun wise, it's pretty fun.
But they should have done a better job. I think that the idea that you would just redo Apple II games annoys me. I think
it's completely what's the guy who did Sierra. He didn't really have a lot of affinity for the Atari 8-bit. Or Atari in general.
Ken Williams?
Apple was really his platform.
Yeah.
Ken Williams. I think, but it's not his fault. So they need to get games out to make money.
I read Ken Williams' autobiography, and if you want to get any insight into games from that, you're not going to get it. He's mostly a business guy. So he likes games.
He's got his own hot tub, by the way. If you want to hear about hot tubs, don't talk about the Atari hot tub. The Ken Williams hot tub is where the action was.
But I mean, his biography is good, and maybe it'll get on our list of books. But you're not going to get any insight into games much. It's really about the business, and it's interesting, but not. But if you care about games, you're not going to, you're not going to find out what he liked, what he didn't like. Maybe some little details and stuff.
I'm going to give this one a D.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fun, but really it doesn't take advantage of the Atari 8-bit. Even the D games are kind of fun. It's just not a great game. Next one is Marauder. So we had this on the Atari 2600.
We had the Tiger Vision version. Tiger Vision was the Atari 2600 arm of Sierra, or whatever they named their games that Sierra made for. Yes. Sierra made the games. I don't know exactly what the relationship was.
Marauder's very interesting. It's two games in one.
Right. How come I don't remember these games not having color?
This, you know what? Wait, no, it did have color. It's just here. You're talking about the
I mean, so the high res games, maybe they had some sort of artifacting on the color. If I can find it, I'll put it in. But this one, I don't know if it ever did. This is Marauder, and this is interesting because the Atari 2600 game of Marauder was the only one half of the game.
So, right.
Where
so
you
this
were
kind of is
running
a
around the
fun
maze.
part where you kind of try to shoot through to get.
Yeah, so you basically reverse. It's kind of reverse missile command. You are
Right.
not really missile, but you're attacking, and they're trying to shoot you down. Yeah, after you get through, then let me see if I can. Then you go to stage 2, which is
Stage 2 is what the Atari 2600 game is.
Wait, hold on a second. No. Yeah, but it's pretty interesting because you run around this maze. It's not great looking. It's Apple II looking. But the interesting thing about this is it's line of sight for the enemies. So when you're hiding down here, you can't really see them until you come up. Now, sometimes you can, but they disappear because you can't really see them unless you're looking at them.
So there's a little more nuance to the graphics here than the Atari 2600 version. You can kind of see how the guys walk, and when they get shot, they fall over. But on the Atari 2600, everything looks like a triangle, and it's just a version of Berserk.
Yes.
And I was so mad at it, and this still does. I still feel my anger from when I spent $30 on it
playing this one
for the 2600. It's still my least favorite game
well, it
ever.
was the equivalent. We paid the equivalent of $100 now.
Still
for the
my least
2600
favorite game ever for the Atari 2600. If someone asks you what the worst game ever for 2600, it's that, because your worst game is not the worst game. It's the game that you feel the most betrayed by. That's my opinion.
Yes.
And to me, Marauder is the game.
I felt betrayed by it.
So fine. I mean, I'm glad there's another level on the Atari 800. I probably still would have felt betrayed if I bought it on the Atari 800.
Okay, I'm going to make it a D then. I think that it would be.
That's my opinion. Other people think it's better. I'm not there.
If it was just that, the thing about this is I'm going, because I like the first level so much, I would put it at a C.
Put it at a C.
But
Go
it's
ahead.
Nowhere near.
Okay, I'm going to give it an E. I think it's the worst of the worst. So.
Okay, so I think it's a C. You think it's an E. We'll make it a D.
Right.
Okay. This is good because it'll get controversy. A lot of people love it, but
let's argue.
Our opinion, and this is the debate, is because the 2600 one made us so angry that this one gets a bad grade. I'm going to make it a C.
No, I'm saying I think it's an E. I think it's an E. You can make it a C if you want to. I still makes me mad to look at.
Okay, I just love the first level, so I'm going to make it a C.
It's neat.
So it's with Jawbreaker II and BC's Quest for Tires. Okay, for me in this tier list, I know that I just love that first level so much. Okay, so the next one is Mouskattack, and this is another. I guess it's another attempt. It's a little bit like another attempt at Pac-Man. It's funny because it looks to me like they kind of took John Harris's Pac-Man game and made something else with the engine. I think it looks a lot like someone took the code, like found one of his discs when he left. If that was it's 82, so it may be about the time that he was still there. Not sure the lineage.
So from what I'm seeing of the games, a lot of these games look like budget titles that we're in the UK we would have paid $2.99 for.
Probably some of these would have made budget titles. Here they were full price games because that's just how this, and no one talks about that, how the full price games probably killed the industry too, as much as anything else, without having software that people could actually buy. But you're going around the maze, and if you click on a cat, the mice should run away from you. It's difficult, but it's got nice graphics. It's very much using that engine, except for it's when you, instead of collecting dots, you're connecting together the thing.
I love the pipe
pipes.
Connecting aspect to this.
Yeah.
I think that makes actually a fun game.
It's very challenging and it's kind of fun.
I'd put it up there on a B. That's my.
Ooh, I like that. I thought you wouldn't. I liked it too. Okay, I was getting ready to have to be Steve Blasted.
You get desperate for some games to actually have some sort of interesting play mechanic.
Okay, so the next one is Mr. Cool. This is the first game by Peter Oliphant. So this is a Q*bert style game, but it's not. There's missiles that fly at you. It's like the most deadly Q*bert game I've ever played. It's got some neat little Atari graphics to it. I don't know if it's Peter's first game or not, but it's a great first game.
I think it's an interesting approach to
it's
an
interesting approach
to a game like that. It's not it's not perfect. I think it's probably in the C layer. I would give it.
I think it's in the C area too. It's a good game. I would play it. I'm putting it. It's in the same spot as Marauder, Steve. Anyway.
Oh no, I'd make it better than Marauder. I'd make it a B then.
Okay, we'll make it a B. There we go. The next game we're going to take a look at is Oil's Well, which is an Anteater clone.
Yeah, I remember thinking that this game was great.
Let's take a look at it. You can only go one direction, and then if you touch any of these guys with the front of your thing, your front of your scooper, you get them. But you can only, once you're moving, you can't go back. You only press the button to go back, to be retracted back.
I love the idea of trying to build your pipe down as far as you can go without things getting it. It's hard, but it's another interesting game mechanic that's not just.
But Oil's Well is okay, how do we take the Atari 8-bit sort of capabilities with graphics and sound and add it to Anteater? And so I think that I would make Oil's Well another B.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of interesting game to it. I don't know what the rest of the community thinks of Oil's Well, but I like it. I think it's got all of those facets of an Atari 8-bit game. It's got very simple play mechanic, but they add all the Zarjazz to it to make it an Atari 8-bit version. I really appreciate that about it. Okay, so the next game is Threshold, which is I think it's Astro Fighter.
Yeah, it's one of those Astro Warrior, Astro Fighter.
Astro Warrior, I think it is, but it's an arcade.
And also it's a little bit Mega Mania kind of rips us off a little bit too.
Yeah. The name of the game is actually Astro Blaster. Yeah. Where you have to wait. You get overheated.
You get overheated, but I just for some reason I just love it. I love the different things you're shooting. I think that this is as I remember, this is one of my favorite games to play on the Atari 100. I would give it
also
probably
one of my favorites
an A.
on the Apple II.
This is an A for me.
Yeah, it also is one of my favorites on the Apple II. When we played with either Eric or Alex's house. So I'm going to put it as an A-level game too. And then we have one more final game. And the Threshold, I think this port was done by Peter Oliphant.
That's Peter Oliphant. The Wallwar, the one you're about to play, is Peter Oliphant. Mr. Cool's Peter Oliphant as well.
Yeah. It's funny that we got almost all three of them at the end, and except for Oil's Well was in.
Well, that's what alphabetical order does.
I meant that Peter made games that were in the end of the alphabet too. Okay, Wallwar takes the Antic and GTI modes for an early game to the max. As many colors as he could figure out how to put on the screen, which is pretty awesome. It's like a combination of Breakout and Outlaw, kind of.
Okay. There are your colors. Look at this.
I told you.
This is amazing.
Yeah, let me see. How do I... Okay, so...
Now what the hell are you doing?
I don't know if I was playing yet. I didn't know if I was playing yet. I think Babe was doing a demo. But you were... I'm playing one player first, I think. And
I just think this deserves an A just because it's so impressive. You can tell just how much work he put into it to make something interesting. I would give this an A as well.
With two people playing that game, it has to be good. So there we are with the tier list here, Steve. In S, we have John Harris's Frogger and his Jawbreaker. In A, we have We have Threshold and Wallwar.
Right. By
B,
Peter Oliphant.
We have both by Peter Oliphant. In B, we have Aquatron, the second version of Frogger, Mouskattack, Mr. Cool, and Oilswell. In C, we have BC's Quest for Tires, Crossfire, Jawbreaker II, and Marauder. D, we have the golf game and Lunar Leeper.
And then in E, we also have Marauder, but that's Steve's version.
Yeah, so E is I think Marauder is a C, and Steve thinks it's an E.
That's right. But it's kind of fun.
I may just make 2 copies of it and put it in.
Next week we'll have a really heavyweight debate about something.
Okay, well, you pick it.
I will.
Because you're editing, and then the next week after that, we'll do something else I want.
All right, well, that's fun, Jeff. Okay, so now we're leaving the Overscan.
Leaving the Overscan.
And where are we going?
And back into the vertical.
That's right.
Into the vertical blank.
We were children of the Silicon Revolution, an X generation conscripted to fight the console and home computer wars. A product of an analog 70s childhood, we came of digital age in the 80s, believing we could affect the world 8 bits at a time. Armed with joysticks, full-stroke keyboards, Jolt Cola, and MTV haircuts, we proceeded into the vertical blank. There, we stayed up late at night, devising incantations from D&D rulebooks and beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code. Video games were the match, and programming was the fuse, as the infinite possibilities of the digital world exploded into the internet age to come. We are Generation Atari.